Well, a huge welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining me on this very first Network Chameleon workshop. Now, guys, I need you to raise your hand so that I can make sure that you can hear me. Brilliant. Lovely, lovely. Althea, hi. Libby and Pauline. Fantastic to have you with us, guys. So a little bit of housekeeping too. Basically, if you can refrain from browsing, don't touch any little linky things. I'm going to be giving you lots of information, so you probably get far more out of this. You just sit back, relax, take a few notes, and just enjoy the session. So, what have you actually clicked into, lovely peeps? Well, consider this. Life is a path with cracks, bumps, rocky pavements, barriers, and crossroads, and in any working life, like me, I guess we have tripped over most of these things. But these days in business, the safety net support is wide and has a huge myriad of styles that, if identified, you can keep you on the safe and narrow and on your feet as you walk along. I believe, and I passionately believe that most business owners believe, the days of having even the most unique of businesses is simply not enough to get you standing out from your competitors. You have to get yourself out there. If you're waiting for customers to call or walk through the door, those days are simply not around anymore. If you're a great business, nobody knows about you. You're simply the world's best, biggest secret, and in your own world too. So if you're already actively networking or considering how or where these workshops will cover all aspects of networking skills to enhance, support, hopefully educate us all as we share our experiences and answer questions between us. So what will we be covering? Well, there are 5 points over the next few weeks. The first is to improve your networking skills and demystify any networking fears. Hopefully, we're going to switch on those light bulbs and share best networking practice to enhance your networking experience. I'm sure that most of you will have been invited in some way or other to visit, attend, join, come along, be a guest, take a look. Let's face it, whatever way to invite manner, you have either heard or seen an invitation to come and network. I think it would be fair to say that the very word can conjure up many myriad feelings and create a whole gamut of impressions simply by what you may have heard or read. But have you actually attended? Have you experienced a meeting? I know some of you may be members of a network group or considering seeking a place at one for those who have only heard of these meetings. Well, how do you decide and what can you expect? As I say, how do you take that very first step if you feel you've been invited to the opening of an envelope? You just don't know where to start. The first thing to know that any regular networking group is a commitment. And I say that with pride. As a member of a strong team of local business owners myself, I value greatly the support and time that my fellow members show towards my own business. And quite normally, it is reciprocated and reassuringly so. The clue is in the word group. We're together, united with the same aim of looking out for each other's future business by building strong relationships. And there hangs the tale. As any connection you will make takes time to build, a strong relationship that in time can lead to a natural and trusted one, enough to do business with relationship. Would you recommend someone you've just met? Would you confidently use a business on the basis of a handshake or a hello? Well, the answer is no. Yes? The answer is that if you know, like, and trust, you can start to develop a more business-forward connection. So the network group ethic is a gradual and, as I said, committed way of building a good team around you who will learn more about your business, be able to promote your business because of that time and effort they've put into doing so, safe in the knowledge and understanding that it is a reciprocal thing. Now, I'm not a particularly religious lady, but I do have a holy trinity of networking steps that I intently follow, and I do have them firmly fixed in my old grey matter. Know, like, and trust. So let me elaborate on these 3 golden giant stages of my mantra, as it kind of ties up everything about easy networking, or actually I should say the ease of approachable networking. Just keeping these few pointers to the forefront of your focus, you really can't go far wrong. These days, with ever-changing choice of business promotion out there for us, the rules of face-to-face network should always remain the same. In fact, you'll definitely get a little further It would definitely strengthen a new relationship if indeed you truly know, like, and trust. Without each one of these relationship building stages, you'll have to work each one to the maximum, mind you, to reach the final and most rewarding stage of sharing any business contacts amongst you. You'll never reach that stage of confidence without taking time to do so. It's not a quick fix. No instant way to cut to the chase and splash straight into a give me your contacts now we've said hello moment. Just because you're a Facebook friend or a name on a meeting delegate list, the time it may take to build that trust will inevitably always be a personal thing. But of course, the benefit of receiving a personal recommendation and a positive testimonial from a trusted existing contact means there may well be a slightly quicker leap from getting to know and trust, but again, all in good time. Another way to illustrate my 3 golden steps is this. Okay, I know I can't see you guys, but hands up who believes that people buy people and not always their business. And at this point, I'm going to say a huge hi to Joseph, Kay, Kirsty. Lovely to have you with us, guys. So hopefully a few people are waving there saying, yes, yes, people do buy from people and not always their business. There's a choice out there. But just stop to think a moment. If you were building your own team of salespeople, what qualities would you hope they would show? Reliability, honesty, integrity, hardworking with good people skills. I think they'd be amongst my top 5. But reflecting that back to your own ethics and business practice, hopefully, yes, they would mirror your own. And so in truth, we do tend to gravitate to those who we feel can work alongside our own standards, if you like. Bearing in mind when I say trusting and building a team of contacts, can you see in fact that what you're hopefully creating is an extension of your own business model in those you wish to surround yourself with in your own networking circle. And that is the very essence of a good networking team, one that knows each other's ways well enough to work together for each other's business. So that's a little bit about group networking. Now, there are the one-off events and such like invites, such like a key speaker event where you're there to gain an insight from an expert in your own field, and possibly mostly I say, this will not be a place to get business. Why not? I hear you shout. Why not? Because everyone seeking immediate business at a one-off event is liable to be showing hunting tendencies. Now, I'll be using that term quite a lot. And the more networking meetings you attend, I'm hoping you may well be able to spot this various types of animal from a distance and hopefully have a newly honed and toned plan on how to deal with such a little beastie. But the variety of event invites can be overwhelming. The best piece of advice is to try to visit a meeting that you can do a little research on beforehand. Are they an organised group? Do you know anyone that can give you some first-hand feedback? Lastly, is there a reason why you wouldn't want to attend? Listen to your guts. But if you're not sure, what have you got to lose by attending and putting those doubts to rest? Who knows, you may just enjoy the experience a little. Ta-da! So now, the most easy of networking tools to acquire, but oh, how simple this little thing can get you into hot water. The business card. Now, picture this. I'm going to first explain the thruster. Who can I just say the thruster is the identical twin of the hunter? Picture this. Have you ever been introduced to a person and the very first thing they do is thrust their business card into your face or sometimes under your nose? The effect is probably the same, but it's very bad practice. There is no value at all in the presumption that somebody might want your business card. But you may want to consider your own business card ethics. How do you carry them? In a taped up card holder so that it takes you time to pass one after a conversation? Or in your pocket to hand? And actually, have you ever considered that holding your business cards in your hand, that might make you look like a thruster? And you're not! Gosh, all these subliminal messages can be vital first impression makers, especially when in a new environment. So huge pointer number 1. Shall I stop you to grab a pencil? No. Huge pointer number one. Consider how you use your own business card. Always have them to hand, but in a place that's not too difficult to produce. Pointer number two, best code of practice. Always wait to be asked for your card. This shows you're actually involved in a productive conversation and not merely there to give your cards out. Point number three. Now, this is an interesting one because many views on the design of your business card, it's the blank card. Now, if you've got your card to hand, guys, I just want you to see whether you can turn your card over. Is it blank? Well, I'll tell you a little story. I was once told that I was wasting a good opportunity to add even more detail to a card by leaving the back blank on design. You don't want to leave it blank. What else do you want written on it? But little did they know that I had a logical and hopefully far more productive reason for leaving the back of my business card blank. Let's go back to that room full of new contacts, even to a situation of having a lot of cards from a lot of interesting new conversations over the meeting, over the months, over the weeks. You've got all these business cards, but I soon realised I couldn't possibly remember every single face and link it to each and every card. And I hit upon an idea of after each meeting, what I would do is take a little time to jot down a memorable fact about that person. Say, bubbly blonde lady, red rimmed glasses, had their own business for 6 years, or even we went to the same school together. Now, on following up, and I'll come back to that later, how great it is to have that one special thing that you remember from a conversation when you've got back to that person. It really shows great integrity. And it's great to have you telling them that you're more than just a business name. They're more than just a business name on a card when you make that contact. So if you can, try using a memory jogger to help continue the green shoots of a new relationship. It's a fantastic compliment. One thing I'm just going to come off and think that I actually do that with every single person who may ring my mobile phone, bless them. If it's a wrong number, whatever, they do get a little name, they get kept on there for some reason, and then if you ring again, I know exactly who you are. It's the same principle with a business card. It's there for a reason. It's a calling card. It's far more productive to use the back side of a business card that's blank. Never leave it blank. The final 2 points on here are key. Having a card holder discreet enough to move to hand, then putting the newly acquired cards from that event behind the back of your own. In fact, I actually do that. If somebody's giving me a business card, I might take my little card holder out, make sure it's not just going to be thrown away, it's going behind my own. So I really am going to take a notice of it. And that will show that it stays safe enough to follow up on. It also shows you've got good organisational skills, and that's another subliminal message to a brand new contact. And a sense of pride in which in turn may just help you get remembered and stand out of the crowd. Okay, I've covered a little bit about different types of meetings, so I just want to elaborate a little on what you can expect to find in each part of the meeting. Now, we talk about open networking, and again, guys, do feel free to throw in questions, tag them in. Apparently, there's a little question part down to the side of your screen. Any questions you want answered, we'll add them to the list and see how far we can get, guys. But back to the open networking. Open networking is that very first part of arriving, being meted, did I say meted? I did. And met and greeted, hopefully with a cuppa or a glass of something, which I desperately need in a little while, with a cuppa or a glass of something welcoming. And then it's a get to know you session. A chance to introduce yourself to those around you when you feel the time is right, and more on that coming up too. Networking structure. Now, this is a far more formal part of any meeting. Now, not every sort of event will have this formal sit-down time, open networking meeting, and that's why it's great to do your research when you're looking into which meetings you should be going to, because they will differ. There'll be open networkings completely. There'll be key speaker meetings, totally, but they will all have a different structure to them. The formal structure, network structure, includes a table information part. It'll be a fact finding within the membership. So again, going back to your research, if the meeting does include a formal structure, you may well need to prepare a mini moment of personal introduction to that table. And so preparation and advanced knowledge is absolutely key. I have seen many a whiter shade of pale on a person's face when they've suddenly realised that they've got to talk about their business. But speaking at a meeting's notice does in fact get easier and easier the more you do it. And I'm just reminded actually of a story to look back on. I looked a little timer. Do I have time? Yep, we have time for this. Now, picture this. I was, for those of you who know a little bit about my history, my technical assistant is telling me something. We've done this fine. A little bit of history. I have actually been involved with very large groups in the past, and I must just tell you the story of a person who was visiting a group with intent to join, and she did the right thing by preparing her 60 seconds, and she walked into a room full of 60 guys at 5:30 in the morning. That deserved a medal to begin with. I was there to greet her, and she was very keen to do this, but she was indeed a Reiki therapist. Not the most macho of businesses, and these 60 traders were very interested to hear her story, but she stood up. Now I'm going to do this very closely to the microphone. Can you hear this, guys? Because that's what her 60 seconds sounded like. She'd written it down. And she did the right thing. She got through it, got a rapturous round of applause at the end of it. Now, the moral to this story is actually, well, so what? This person was brand new to speaking. She'd never done that before, and she did, in fact, deserve a massive round of applause. But she joined this group because she knew she would gain networking skills, and by talking about her business, she wanted to gain experience about doing that. I had the privilege of going back about 2 or 3 months to this very same meeting, and at that time, you had the opportunity to talk about your business for 4 or 10 minutes even, and I knew I wanted to support her when it was her 10-minute time. And the incredible thing, the wonderful moment when it came to her 10-minute moment, she actually was standing in front of these 60 guys with a table, a treatment table. She got the biggest guy she could find in the room to come and have a Reiki treatment on, and she talked her way through with no notes at all. And it was amazing. And I could see the confidence that she'd actually gained by doing that. And I was so excited and so impressed by her that afterwards she came up, she hugged me, and she said, "Thank you so much," which was no, thank me, but actually she said, "Thank you so much for everything in that it's brought back to my business. I'm now talking to clients better. I'm now talking to suppliers better. I'm now even negotiating things along the way." She had so much more confidence in presenting and analysing her business on a structured way that she'd gained from doing that on a regular basis. So in fact, I know that talking in public does get better. Even if you've never done this before, it really does get better. And I'm going to move on now to some questions. And thank you. Actually, it's Kirsty. Kirsty Brown, you're out there. Now, I love the thought that one of the points that Kirsty's brought up, and it's great. Can you remind people to walk in and talk and not sit down? That's a fabulous idea, and that's true. When you're walking into a meeting, Kirsty, you're absolutely right. Invariably, when there's a structured meeting, they're staring at you as you walk into the room. Will be a lovely boardroom-sized table with seats. It's very tempting to want to sit down and get your space, put your cards down, put a jacket on your seat, claim your territory, as it were. I agree with you. And forget that the most important part is not to sit down. You've got to meet people. It may be something that you may be nervous about doing, but you're there just to mingle and to meet. And hopefully you will get that welcome and people will want to introduce you. I think also it's important to make sure that you've signed in. And normally what will happen at a meet and greet when you've signed into a meeting, you will get a sticky label stuck onto your left side. In fact, the problem with me now is I don't recognise or call anybody by the right name unless they've got a label stuck to their lapel. So remember, folks, always wear your label with pride so that you can get identified. But brilliant point there, Kirsty. It's so important not to sit down. You will be isolating yourself, and it's important to really make sure that you make the most of a room. I agree with you there. In fact, I'm going to link that with a question that we had further on. I have to say, before we do talk to question, but there's something that's coming about body. Somebody's asking about body language, and I did want to talk about body language a little bit. Actually, I'm going to flip on to the next side because, interestingly enough, if you are sitting down at a meeting, you may be able to judge when you can come into a conversation and read the room, because standing up, meeting and mingling, this might be just what you see, folks. There you go. How to read body language. Now, hopefully, reading body language will become a really good tool in networking. It will protect you and arm you. And it's one of the toughest challenges when you're speaking to a new person to actually know when to walk into a room. So let's take a look. Well, the person in the room on their own, and that's going to be the top person. He looks as though he's standing on one leg next to a lady with her hand on her hips. Now that's interesting. Those two single people are actually giving subliminal messages. I have to say that second lady looks pretty scary. She's got her hand on her hips. You probably would think that that's not the most welcoming of poses. And I agree with you. The lady along there with her hand standing like a teapot, well, she is actually more relaxed. So maybe she's thinking, she's talking, and maybe someone next door. But look at the couple on the end there. They're very close. That is something that you would not definitely want to break into that relationship. They're having a chat. They're definitely close. There's something there that isn't inviting about, that they're talking about whatever they're talking about. But the people on their own, let's jump down to the second line. Thank you, technical person. Lovely. Now, how to read your body language tips. Now, coming back to that idea of when to break into a conversation, you can actually see the first two people on the second line, although they are talking to each other, you can see they're actually in an open stance. That means they've got a bit of gap between them, and you may well be able to just stand around and people will be looking to talk to each other. That person next door will be walking up and they will be able to a chance to join a conversation. And even if we look at the last there are three people standing there, but there's definitely room for somebody else to do that. And therefore, that's an open stance. So the moral to this little slide is open stance is closed stance. People give subliminal messages when they're standing in groups. And therefore, feel free to wander around and join a two or join a three, and you will actually find that you'll know when it's okay to join a conversation. I am now going to go on to answers and questions, and I have had some brilliant ones in. I've had one from Angela, and this is one that I do get a lot. How do I get over my nerves of walking into a room full of people? The idea of walking into a room full of 50 plus people is nerve-wracking. I end up tongue-tied and looking like I have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, that is a great question. Is this probably a more common concern, and one that a lot of new workers can feel? The root of why you may, and it may well be the root of why you may avoid networking situations altogether. Yes, you will be meeting new people. And if you're asked yourself this very second, is meeting new contacts going to possibly help your business potential? Hopefully you'd agree yes. So the huge question is how to gain that confidence, to exude that confidence. A few ideas that may just help you first call would be to ask a good friend, colleague, or fabulously gregarious contact if they would like to go to that meeting with you, say as a wing person, as it were. Explain you are new to the world of networking. Would they like to enjoy the event, help you through the open networking stages? Just by watching an experienced networker, you can see ways to ask open questions and simply show interest in the person you are talking to. When you're with someone you know, you can feel sure that they can confirm your business credibility just by saying, I've known Angela for X years, possibly mention a great job that she did for them, etc. Another great icebreaker is to have a few questions in your mind, to a few obvious questions. You may well be getting an asked to an introduction, but I have a novel idea to get you remembered for the right reasons. Now, I'm not knocking all insurance salespeople out there. Any insurance people out there? Give us a wave. Good. I'm not knocking you insurance people, but in all fairness, if asked, what do you do? And the answer is, I'm in insurance, that could possibly lead to the answer, really. But if I was introduced to the same person who, when I asked what they did, said, I help people sleep easy at night, well, I just might want to know a little bit more. And when they follow up with, when you have a peace of mind in my field of insurance, it's the best relaxant you can find. Well, I may just remember that person and have learnt a little more from that in an instance. So if getting tongue-tied about having to explain your business in detail, Angela, just a glimpse into your personality in a little one-liner can spark a friendly conversation off and leave you remembered. So you may want to find a one-liner that on first introduction gets you remembered and feeling comfortable to continue a conversation. In saying all this, Angela, it always takes time and practice in any new situation. The more you open network, the easier it does become. And another strategy to possibly take up is to remember that you are the expert in your own field of business. Unless talking to a room full of your own peers, which could work twofold, totally intimidating or right in your comfort zone as you're amongst those you can go into deeper detail. Note, I hope you can say this with a straight face, but somebody asks you about your business, it's best not to fill in your answer with insider jargon, which will fly straight over their heads. I'll be covering a lot of these points over the coming sessions, which I know um, will be welcome, but getting your message across without too many off buttons in a workshop of its own. Skipping back to the fact that you are the expert, be confident in that you don't have to always chat directly about your business or pitch, as it were, in a business open session. Have you been to these meetings before? Do you work on your own? Are you local to the area? How did you hear about this meeting? Are all ice-breaking questions too. So I hope this has given you some ideas to try at your next new meeting, Angela. Yay! Great stuff. The next question has been sent in from Jack. When should I network? Is there ever a bad time to network? Okay, that's a great question. One I've often asked myself. But networking is simply a chance to get to talk to people. That's it in an essence, really. The most important thing about any networking is how you approach a situation. And proactive networkers will tell you to get into a good habit of being proactive at every opportunity. When you first begin to actively work the net, it can be just a matter of boosting confidence, feeling relaxed and comfortable enough to do so. Starting in a known situation. Start with your friends, your family. It's the old adage, we really do miss things that are right under our nose. Do people really know about your business? Take time to let them know what you do. And even everyday routine events that will soon help you step out of that norm and broaden your sight so you can network in any environment. Sometimes it's called a comfort zone, sometimes it's called an uncomfort zone. Okay, there's another question just come in. Do men and women network differently? Well, the answer to that question is probably, but it again depends on the network arena and the environment. But I think any new networker going to a meeting for the very first time will definitely be experiencing the same feelings and possibly a degree of apprehension, whether they're a man or a woman. But as with all things, to show you an approach or situation, how you communicate with each other. And in all male environment, it would be naive to think that dynamics and conversation are not bound to be different from the culture and dynamics of an all-female one. And again, a mixed environment is completely different again. But all successful networking boils down to a few things. Whatever the dynamics, networking takes time. It's not a get business quick race. I have a little phrase that follows me around: be a farmer, not a hunter. A hunter, that famous hunter that I said I'd mention a bit. A hunter is always on the lookout, got their spear on their back, ready to grab in the form of their business card, grabbing what comes near, whatever the need, looking for their next business meal ticket. But a farmer, in relation to networking, ploughs the field. They set the scene in some way. They plant that seed, nurture that seed, and they help it grow. And I keep saying it takes time to let the seeds grow into something that actually harvests and you can actually enjoy the experience. Another thing about networking, and the networking that takes time, it's a willingness to share, be it your time, your contacts, your own experiences and knowledge. My 5 favourite words as a networker are: how can I help you? I say that again. How can I help you? Establish a positive relationship and a start to gain a position of trust. It truly is a two-way street that should have you driving between a very low and legal speed limit. Cruise around so that you have time to admire every single networking view. And then it's all in the follow-up. 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 I know, yeah, follow-up. Integrity, to be able to confidently do what you say you will do, be seen to be reliable in every way, will be the best confidence builder you can confidently build for yourself. Got another question in. How do I get my message across in a minute presentation? It's only a minute and I have so much to tell. Well, this answer could take more than a minute to answer, but yeah, a few pointers on a minute. Actually, that would be a great one to be covering on the next session, and that would be fantastic. We'll probably go into a lot more detail about how to present and how to improve upon a minute presentation. I think we'll do that next time. There are a few pointers to share. And I know for those who are both regular presenters on the business and for those first timers to any form of presentation, there are a few key points to include in a 60 seconds, be it a monthly minute, whatever you want to call it, your 60 seconds. The first thing you should always do, beginning and end, is to start with an introduction of your name and your business. And some people forget to do this at either end of the 60 seconds. If you can picture it chunked into chunks, you want 5 seconds of introduction at the beginning and 5 seconds introduction on the end. So start and end with an introduction of yourself. If you have a strap line or a little memory hook, remember that insurance salesperson who helps people sleep at night, they're going to get remembered. No jargon or insider info, particularly in a 60 seconds. Now, for example, a web designer who uses H487 and Word 2009 as opposed to MPC 412 may well be absolutely brilliant at that, but absolutely only vital information to another web designer. Also on that point, telling the room that you are reliable, good at what you do, have a great customer service is actually a given. You're simply wasting the little time you have to get your business ethics and model across. Finally, a minute is a minute. If you do have a minute, don't go over the minute. The flip side of that is use your minute. Use the time to thank the room for having you there, and possibly for a first timer, say something about the meeting you have enjoyed. Another question come in from Maggie. Thank you. They want to know when the next webinar is and how do you sign up for the series. I'm looking over at my technical wizards who will nod and confirm. There will be another subscription page coming in. So yes, we're gaining technical knowledge by the hour myself. Will be available for the next month's webinar, and you can subscribe from that link. So yes, I think we may be in. Are there any more questions coming in? Let's have a little look. Let's go for that. Yay! We have no more questions. Well, I think that was our final question. And can I thank each and every one of you for clicking in? And for those who are listening after the event, well, now you do know what you were missing. So, till next time, keep networking.